In 2005, the Palestinian civil society issued a call for solidarity in resisting Israel's colonization, occupation, and apartheid. And the call came in the form of boycott, divestment, and sanctions, with the purpose of putting pressure on Israel to end its colonization of the Palestinians and bring about justice and freedom for the Palestinians. The call is, in a way, brings together the efforts of Palestinian civil society together with the international community, civil society, individuals, to collectively contribute towards putting an end to Israel's atrocities and injustice and colonization. The call is about the three fundamental rights of the Palestinians. This includes ending the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza, in addition to bringing about equality and ending apartheid practiced against Palestinians in Israel. And the third component is the rights of Palestinian refugees within the framework of international law. The Boycott National Committee is the steering committee for the BDS, or Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions movement. It is behind the call, the BDS call. It basically brings together a number of coalitions, including trade unions, student groups, political factions, women groups, Palestinian civil society, in addition to political factions, to steer and promote and strategize in relation to BDS. It is basically leading the BDS movement across the world. It is representative of the vast majority of Palestinian civil society. More than 170 organizations and groups are within this coalition. Over the years, the Palestinians have tried different strategies to bring about an end to the occupation and Israel's apartheid and colonization. This included cooperation between Palestinian civil society and Israeli civil society, or dialogue. And this has proven to actually work in favor of Israel, since the power dynamics, or the dialogue and cooperation, is undertaken without a recognition, without a framework and a process of work towards deconstructing colonization. And given this experience over the past so many years, Palestinians have been weakened and been exploited further, while Israel gave this example of dialogue as a way of convincing the rest of the world that it is a democratic country engaging with the Palestinians. So this dialogue worked as a mechanism to whitewash Israel's crime. On the official level, the peace process is an example of another failure of negotiations and dialogue and engagement, which does not attempt to address the imbalance of power between the colonized and the colonizer. As a result, the Palestinians have opted for a civil form of resistance in the form of pressure on Israel brought onto the Israeli state and institutions from within Palestinian society, but also through generating support and solidarity from the rest of the world. And this has been inspired by, up to an extent, by Palestinian history pre-1948, but also by the South African experience. It is important because it is a form of resistance to oppression that is non-violent in nature. It also brings together efforts from individuals, institutions within Palestinian society with the rest of the world, and therefore there is a role for everyone to play. Consumers in different countries, academics, culturalists, everyone can actually contribute towards trade unions, governments can contribute towards bringing about justice and lasting peace. It is a form of pressure that addresses the imbalance of power between the colonized and the colonizer through empowering the colonized. So it does not view the situation as a situation of conflict between equals. It recognizes the injustice and tries to empower the weaker party to ask and demand and seek its rights. Also, BDS has been proven to work. In the South African case, peoples of the world, civil society from different countries came together, individuals came together to put pressure on the apartheid regime in South Africa, and that worked. So we have an example which is effective and non-violent in nature. The European Union has a major role to play. Israel is very much considered in the world as part of the EU, and economic and political and cultural connections prove that. The EU is one of Israel's largest trading partners, with access to free trade agreements and access to the EU market both ways in terms of imports and exports, so it has preferential treatment. Israel has access to academic and cultural resources within the EU that no other non-EU member has. So Israel accesses agreements and funding for academic and scholarship-based activities. It does access also cultural resources within Europe, sports. So it has, in a way, a very preferential status when it comes to its link with the European community as a whole. This implies that the EU can actually affect Israel substantially. It can do that in different respects. Lately, the EU upgraded trade agreements with Israel, despite the fact that Israel has been engaged in human rights violations, which is against the EU ethics and codes of conduct. This was an opportunity for the EU to actually alert Israel and bring it to and inform and push Israel to account for its actions against the Palestinians. Also, the EU can, through its very different connections in the economy, in the political sphere, in the academic and cultural sphere, play a role of pressuring Israel to comply with international law. So the framework that everyone is working within is international law, and what is required from the EU is to respect international law and deal with Israel as it deals with other countries that violate international law. There is much that all countries can contribute. With particular, Finland can do much in different areas. On the governmental level, it can actually apply pressure on Israel through certain agreements, requirements to adhere to international law. There can be activity within civil society, including trade unions, as has been the case in Sweden with the dock workers, the same in South Africa and others, whereby civil society organizations and, in this case, trade unions took not just a position but actually action towards bringing about pressure on the Israeli government. So Finland can contribute to that effort. Universities and academic institutions can engage in boycotts and of Israeli academic institutions, boycotting cultural activities that are supported by the Israeli government and funded by the Israeli government is very important. Israel has been conscientious and has been concerned about such activities, no matter how small they are, and therefore it launched this new initiative of rebranding Israel, which tries to spread Israeli culture and bring internationalists into Israel to publicize and whitewash its crimes. And therefore, every country is important. Every individual boycotting Israeli products is actually contributing to the resistance and contributing to ending injustice, protesting to the government, to the Finnish government, by its citizens regarding Israel's actions is important. So Finland can play a major role in bringing about justice, and also, as it did in the South African case, Finland played an important role through supporting the South African struggle, and this is the Palestinian moment to which Finland can contribute.